Christopher, welcome to Explorations. I'm really happy to have you on. We've been having lots of interesting conversations over the last month related to a variety of projects where we're intersecting, and I know you have a lot to share with people, given really the breadth of your experiences. When we were talking the other day, you said you've been designing story spaces your entire life. Tell us how you got started with that and what was sort of the early ideology of that for you as a young person, and how did that evolve?
So, yes, I've been designing story spaces. I've been trained to design spaces for all forms of media. But really what I've gotten farther into is really understand the broader sense of story, and designing story versus just the spaces that stories exist within. And so what that is really looking at stories beyond words, beyond environments. And this is really what has brought me to my current work of developing stories to help us, connect better and have a social engagement together. But that's probably later in the interview. But to answer your question, I got into designing for theater and film, which are arts of story, because it allowed me to focus on something but didn't limit me on anything. And that was really important, this aspect, really mostly because I was inspired by my mother since I was 12 years old, taking me to the theater and turning me on to theater and seeing this world of, the performance of story. And then that turned into, capturing a film. And so she had a life as a journalist. So she loves words, and the best part of going to a play is afterwards going to dinner and talking about that play with my mother. And I'm just so amazed that in that experience of watching movies and theater, that aspect of conversation after that play is non-existent. We have this experience of movie theaters that you go in and you're a solo experience, co-active with your audience member, but not interactive, and you just sit there passively to just consume that story. And it's just, for me, story was something that to immerse yourself and to engage and to evolve. And so that's what really drew me to theme parks, which took all forms of media and immersed people socially into that story. So then that story is much deeper. But my first training, yes, was in designing spaces for stories. And so in order to design spaces for stories, it's not like a writer who's really, their end product is really evident in the final media. My art of story is in the rendering. It's not in the finished product, actually. It is actually meant for the performer or the agents or the agency of that play and story to occupy and to contrast to that character. Some say the set design is another character, which is totally bogus. The set is in contrast, in context to that character and to the events that are happening. And to build that, I almost had to develop a form of design that I call negative design. I was taught by some master Broadway designers that was in my alma mater, NYU Tisch School of the Arts. They said, if the designer's mentioned in the review, it's a bad design because you upstage the play, the actors, the directing, the staging, etc. And it's just like, I that sunk in, and I said, all right, I have to design something that they don't go away, as they say in musical theater, whistling the set, the scenery. They need to be whistling and singing the songs and re-saying the story. And so this aspect of designing something that everyone sees, it works intricately with the performance, but no one kind of remembers that. It goes into the side of your head and in the back of your psychology and infests these assumptions that you don't even realize people are talking to you. So it's subversive, that what I do, and it's mostly through indirect ways of environmental storytelling and things like that.
Terrific. It's making me think about some of the profound theater experiences I've had, and sometimes it's the Curious Night of the Dog. I can't. That's not the right title of it, but the set was remarkable. But it was integral to everything that was happening on that stage, because in sets the stage was empty and it was projected onto the stage, our minds ended up creating the set in a sense as part of the story.
Right. Right, and that's the other thing that these great designers that I was, studied under said is that they don't need you. Okay, and mind you, everything you do, they don't need you. If you're going to do something, make it matter, make it count, make it more by being less almost. And that's what I really understood what I was doing is I was painting with the imagination. I wasn't painting with paints or sets or scenic elements. I was playing with their subconscious, their memories, their dreams, this common story world we all live in, and pull upon that to trigger curiosity and trigger kind of their imagination and invite them into the ability to participate in that story. And that story participation, even as a passive audience, you're important. But imagine if you had more participation. And that's what I've been really excited about.